Frankfurt Leads. Today we're here with the CEO of the American Heart Association, Nancy Brown, and Lilia and myself will be interviewing her about her background with leadership and the work that she's doing at the American Heart Association today. So first, I'll just let Nancy introduce herself, and then we will move to a couple questions.
Okay, well, Lily and Ella, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your wonderful leadership program. I'm Nancy Brown. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the American Heart Association, and I'm based in Dallas, Texas, and I'm really honored to be here with you today.
We're so excited to have you. So our first question is, tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up, your parents, and how your education shaped your career path.
Well, I am a Midwesterner by background. I grew up in Michigan, in a small town about an hour and a half north of Detroit called Marysville, Michigan, to just a wonderful, loving family who I cherished to this day. And, you know, ever since I was young, I remember very clearly my mother, who was a very active community volunteer, bringing me along every place she went, whether it was at church, whether it was her work in the school. And when she was out raising money, now I'm dating myself the really old fashioned way, when women and men like my mother and father would go door to door to raise money for causes like the American Heart Association. And so I grew up with a commitment to volunteerism as part of who my family was and who I was. And I've carried that with me certainly to today.
Wow, and you've done such a service to this organization. Our next question is, at the AHA, you've been CEO since 2008 and in this leadership position, as you said, for 35 years. What ignited your passion to work in this field?
Yeah. Well, you know, I think one thing that I would say is that the background in seeing my mother, especially, and my family as a whole, serve the community, I always knew I wanted to do something in service of other people. And everybody in my family has a medical background. My grandfather was a prominent surgeon. My mother and my grandmother were nurses. And so I thought to myself, I want to do something that ties together medicine. I didn't really want to be at that time a nurse or a doctor, but I wanted to help people. And so that's how I found my way to a hospital system and then to a cancer organization before the American Heart Association, because it allowed me to really bring together my passion for communications and marketing and business with medical and medicine and science. And so that is sort of how I got to where I am today. And, you know, my 35 years with the American Heart Association, I've had many, many jobs. You know, I'm the CEO now, and I have been since 2008. But my very first job was working in the community representing the American Heart Association. And I worked my way up the organization over many, many years of service to the AHA.
Your hard work and passion truly has paid off. So our next question is about others who've inspired you. It sounds like your parents were a tremendous inspiration, but who else has inspired you through the years?
Oh my gosh. You know, that's a wonderful question. I would say that in the role I have at the American Heart Association, every single day, I have the opportunity to interact with people who are affected by heart disease or stroke, or who have our risk factors, or people who don't have access to health care or access to healthy foods or safe places to play. And that truly is my inspiration and my North Star, just realizing how much people need their health and how important health is to people's, you know, long-term viability, and that there's so much more we can do. I would say that in addition to generally talking about patients and our volunteers who are really inspirational to me, a person who was very inspirational in my life was a member of our board of directors. His name was Bernard Tyson, and he was the president and CEO of Kaiser Permanente, which is a large integrated healthcare system based in California. And Bernard was a friend and a mentor. He was one of the very few Black business leaders, and he really dedicated his life to focusing on issues of homelessness and poverty and helping people have safe access to health care. He really helped shape a lot of my thinking and a lot of the work of the American Heart Association. And tragically, at the age of 60 years old, he died in his sleep of a sudden cardiac arrest. And so he truly is a person I think about every day. And when I'm thinking about guiding the work of the American Heart Association, I think about Bernard and all the things he stood for, and that here was one life ended way too soon. And there's so many people who lose people they love way too soon. And that's why we exist. We don't want that to be the reality for other people.
I think something that we are learning throughout this process is that the people who influence you are such a big part of your story as becoming a leader. And it sounds to me that your friend Bernard has truly impacted the way that you serve others at the American Heart Association.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so you have definitely worked for this organization for a long period of time, but just recently, the COVID-19 pandemic entirely transformed the way that we do things. So how has this unprecedented year with the pandemic shaped how you effectively lead your group of dedicated individuals?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that question. And you're absolutely right. I was reflecting with our volunteer board chairman the other day that during my years of leadership at the American Heart Association, we've had the COVID pandemic. We had the financial collapse in 2008, 2009. We had the tragedies of 9/11. All of these really moments that redefine society, also redefine organizations. And, the thing I'm so proud of is that the culture of the American Heart Association and our volunteers and our staff leaders really prepared us to not do anything but thrive during the pandemic. We had a special obligation because people who were becoming sick so quickly, many of them had issues that we care about every day. They were overweight or obese. They had type 2 diabetes, hypertension. Perhaps they lived in underserved communities or under-resourced communities where we spend a lot of time trying to help. And the thing that our volunteers and staff were able to quickly do is to be able to sharpen our focus on the things we do best. And that's because of our resilience and because of our innovation. So we really sharpened our focus on serving communities. We sharpened our focus on our science and our research programs and the ways that we were providing innovation to create solutions for patients. We sharpened our focus on how we communicated to the public about things like getting vaccinated or, the importance of COVID testing or the importance of mental health and resilience. And so I would say that the American Heart Association has been at its best during the COVID pandemic because all of the things that we do every single day, our team really rallied and has done an incredible job serving people, raising money so that we have money for research and education, and engaging our volunteers and our supporters, even in a virtual way, just like we're doing today. I'm so sorry we're not face to face, but what a great way for us to be able to have this conversation together virtually. So I think that the resilience and the innovation of the American Heart Association has really been demonstrated during the pandemic.
The emphasis you put on honing in on your team members' abilities is so inspiring. And I think that's something we all need to work on, is appreciating all of our coworkers and subordinates, because that what you just said about it being the most important thing in your all's history is phenomenal. So I'm going to segue here into what you think the best piece of advice is for students at FHS who are developing their leadership skills and finding their passions.
Yeah. I think, first of all, it's always really important when, any of us, because I will say developing leadership skills is a lifelong journey. Every single day, I hope that I am better today than I was yesterday. And that's because of listening and learning. And that is really important, I think, to know that it's not like you develop leadership skills when you're a certain age and then you check it off the list and you move on. And to me, that's the most important thing. I think for all of us, we need to find our passion. We need to understand what problems are we trying to solve. And then it's really about building a great team of people who bring unique capabilities to stand alongside, the leader to make things happen. And, there's a wonderful quote about the best leaders know how to lead from the front. In other words, take charge when you have to take charge leading a team. But really great leaders also know how to lead from behind, meaning that great leaders know how to encourage other leaders to be front and center and to take ownership of issues. And so I would say, find your passion, listen, learn on this journey, be a lifelong student, and know that leadership means you could lead from the front and you can lead from behind.
I'm thinking about my peers right now at Frankfort High School, and I think a big part of why we started this is because we want those who are often quiet and reserved to realize that they are leaders just the same as the people who stand in the front. And so I think that you will hit home for a lot of students watching that to say, you know what, I can lead from the back and I can lead from the front, and both are aspects of leadership. So that's awesome. So outside of work, what is your passion? Because all leaders, we've got our hobbies, and we want to hear about yours.
Sure. Well, I have probably a few that I might highlight. I love to read. I love to exercise. So pre-pandemic, I was a big Orange Theory fitness buff. During the pandemic, I've been a big walker and I ride my bike. We were talking about that before we hit the go on the broadcast, whether it's my stationary bike in my house or my actual bike that I ride around my neighborhood. I love to garden. My flowers are a big passion of mine, although in about August or so in Dallas, they all, no matter how much love and care you give them, they're all brown and they don't look so good. But this time of year, I love to be, to make my yard and my planters look beautiful. And then I love my dogs. I have 3 beautiful Bichon Frise dogs, 2 of whom are actually Grand Champion show dogs. So if you ever watch dog shows on TV, like the Westminster Kennel Club or the National Dog Show, you might see one of my dogs in there. I have my 12-year-old house dog, Zibby. And then my Bichon Frise Lily Claire, who is the top winning female Bichon Frise in the country. And she's about to retire in June. She's going to retire. And she's 4 years old. And then my new little puppy, his name is Kix, K-I-X. And Kix is going to be a big star. He already has been out a little bit on the show circuit and he's winning lots of things. So that is a passion I have as well, is for my show dogs.
I have 2 cats, and I must say they're not nearly as impressive as your dogs.
I bet, but you love them dearly. And you know what? That's the thing, is animals give us unconditional love. And, we actually know at the Heart Association that owning a pet helps you have better calmness in your life, a little less stress in your life. The importance of pet ownership is really important to health and well-being.
They're just about the cutest things, best things to have around.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
And they're a little overweight too.
Well, there's that, right?
They just need some love.
Yeah.
So our last thing is, any closing thoughts for FHS students?
Congratulations, first of all, on all that you've accomplished. I think it's incredible that you have such a focus and a commitment on leadership. Lily and Ella, I'm so impressed with both of you and all that you're doing. you know, both your athletics as well as your leadership work in school and in the community. And, you know, I think that as young leaders, you know, the future of the world is in your hands. You know, people like me, we're trying to create a better communities and better society. But what gives us inspiration and what gives me inspiration is to see amazing young leaders like you who are thinking about making a difference in the world. And that makes me feel such great comfort about the future. So thank you to you and to your friends and school colleagues for all that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I think it goes both ways. We are just so happy that we were able to connect and that the CEO of the American Heart Association wanted to give us the time of day. So we are so grateful for this interview and really appreciate you taking the time today.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say thank you to both of you. So it is really great. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the year. And I'll be watching to see great things about both of you for sure.
Thank you so much.